Hey, what's going on, guys? So in this video, I know it's after a long time I'm going to post a video, and in this video we are going to build up a Venom stack or Maven stack application, and in which we'll be dealing with authentication, and we'll be using Vue.js as front-end framework, and we'll be using Vuex for the state management and basic stuff with the bootstrap styling little bit, as well as on the backend side we are going to use MongoDB, Express and Node.js in order to serve it as an API. So let's get started. So currently I'm in my home directory and I'm going to navigate to my web directory, and if I ls over here, currently I have these many projects going on. So I'm gonna create one more directory which will be calling Maven stack, because we are using MongoDB, Express, Vue.js and Node.js. So let's go and create simply. So mkdir Maven stack and cd Maven stack. Clear. And if I ls, it's currently an empty directory, nothing in there. So let's go and create our project, please. So to create a project, I will simply write npm init, and it will take you through the wizard where simply it will ask for certain questions. So for the package name, Maven stack is fine, version is okay, description simple web application to handle authentication with Vue.js, and entry point you can go for the index.js, but I like to go for the app.js, so I'm creating app.js. Text command is fine, get repository, that's okay, keywords, that's alright, author name, I'll put my name, and you can put yours, license MIT, and it will ask okay and yes. So once it is done, now if I ls, currently I have this, it will create a packet.json file in the directory. So to open up this video, open up this in code editor, you can use atom. For atom you can write atom period, but I would like to open it in VS Code, so I will write code and period. So this will open up the project in the Visual Studio Code, and here it is. So currently in my packet.json, it's basically the simple thing which we have just done. Now second thing, I'm gonna go back to my terminal, and I will start my MongoDB server. So for that I'll write mongo, and it will start my MongoDB server on the as a database service, and I can use this Mongo shell by writing Mongo, and it will start the shell. So let's go and get back to the project. So currently I'm just clearing it out, nothing to worry about, and we'll go and create the API first, and in the second part we'll be starting with our front end. So as we are in a root directory, and the main file which we are going to use will be app.js, so we have to create that, and I am just opening Visual Studio Code terminal by just pressing control and backticks. It will open up the terminal in the Visual Studio Code. This is integrated terminal and highly handy. So to create a file with the name and extension of app.js, we have to simply write touch command, and that is touch app.js, and it will create a file for us in app.js. So currently we are just ignore this thing, we don't need to worry about. And now to start with our application, to spin up the server as well as to handle our APIs, so I'm gonna quickly install a couple of dependencies in order to spin up our server as well as deal with some API stuff. So for that I'm simply gonna write a couple of commands, and first one is npm install express bcrypt JS passport and passport JWT because we'll be handling our tokens, then JSON web token in order to assign a new token, mongoose in order to connect with our database, then we need body parser in order to handle JSON responses, then course module in order to respond to cross origin request, and one more dependency I'm gonna install, that is concurrently, which we'll be using later in order to spin up server as well as a client server as well as front-end server, and that's basically it. So it will take a couple of time and I'm gonna quickly pause this video, and once it is done, so all our dependencies are installed successfully and it has been well added to my package.json file and dependencies key, and now I'm simply gonna, and it has also created a node modules folder which has all the dependencies in there, and whatever we want to use in our application we can bring it from there. So that's basically it for now, and now I'm gonna quickly go to the app to start working with our server. So first dependency which I'll be bringing to spin up server is express, obviously that is require express. Then second one is mongoose to connect with our database, that will require mongoose, and then const body parser, that will require body parser. Then we'll be also using const path module, and don't worry, we haven't installed this thing, so we do not need to install at all, we just have to bring it here. Then next one is const course equal to require course module, and we have brought in all the dependencies whatever we need for now. Then we have to initialize the app, so we need const app equals to express, and we have initialized the app successfully. Then we are gonna define some middlewares, and for middlewares we are gonna simply say app.choose, and first middleware is body parser dot URL encoded, and it will take a key extended equals to false. Since we can deal with our application in other formats, not only JSON, if we want to interact with form data, we can simply send that form data over here. Then then another middleware in order to handle with our JSON data, so we'll simply write body parser.json, and that's all. Next middleware which we'll be using is course module, app.use course, and we are done with the middlewares. Then we want to apply path module, so to apply path module we simply write app.use express, and I'll tell you what we are gonna do in this. Enter name, okay, path.join name, comma, and we'll simply say public. So this piece of code is simply saying whatever we have as a public folder will be our static directory. So we are setting this static directory of this application as a public folder, and don't worry, it can be many. Like if you have something like uploads folder, we can simply set that also as a static directory by just writing uploads. But for now I'm not gonna use that thing, so I'm quickly delete this folder. And static directory. Course middleware, then JSON body middleware, form data middleware. And now we are just simply gonna create a couple of folders over here in order to provide a better structure to our application. So first folder which I'm gonna create is models. Then the second folder which we'll be creating is config, and whatever the configuration of this application will be will go in here. Then I'm going to create one more folder that is in the root of the application, that will be routes. And whatever the routes of this application will be going in this directory. So I'm gonna create another folder in here that will be API, and I'm gonna quickly create another file here that is users.js, because we are simply going to work with the authentication stuff, registering the user, logging it out, and all of the stuff. So next thing, I'm gonna quickly close this stuff, and I'm gonna create one file which is very important, that is keys.js. And here I'm gonna simply module.exports, which will be equal to Mongo URL, and it is just exporting an object, and which will contain our MongoDB database. So MongoDB local host, and that is port 27017, and after you just specify the name of the database. So in this Maven auth application will fill with the name of a database. Then we can write some secret. So here your secret, whatever you feel like, you can put in over here. So this is the object which we are going to export from this keys.js file. So to connect with our database, we are just going to bring in that file, and in order to bring in that file, we need to write bring in the database configuration. So we'll simply say mongoose.connect, and it takes an object. So for now we are simply saying const db equal to require, and which is in the same directory in config folder keys, and we want to bring in the Mongo URI. So we have brought in, and now this argument will take this db, and with a callback, and with one more parameter in there, use new URL parser, that will be true, and then it will give a callback function which we can map it through then method, and we can simply say console.log, and I'm gonna use backticks database connected successfully, and I'll write db. And if in case of any error, we are writing catch block, which will throw an error object. So I'm simply write console.log error, unable to connect with the database, and I'm simply writing this thing over here. So this is basically the callback of this function. Better to make it on a separate line, so quickly, so that it might look quite better. And that's basically it. Database. Now what I'm gonna do is to quickly go and create another file in my configuration. Oh, not now, that won't be a good idea. So for now I'm gonna quickly say app.listen, spin up the server over here, and that will be const port equal to 5000 and process.tanv.port, and app will take this argument, that is port, and give a callback console.log server started on port, and I'll write port over here, and I'm going to use this ES6, and let's go and quickly test it out. So to spin up the server or this application, we need a couple of things first, but for basic we can start node app.js and say, and everything is fine. So now if I head over to the Google Chrome and new window over here, and if I write localhost 8000, oh not 8000, it will be 5000, and it will say cannot get, and that is just because we haven't yet initialized any routes. So it is looking for this app.get, and let's say it will take two objects in here, request response and rest.send, return rest.send. Let's say I can write in tag over here, that is closing HTML tag hello world, and now if I save, and now if I reload, we still won't be able to see it. That is just because each time we update this file we need to break the server and then start it again. And now you'll say this is kind of pain in the butt. So for that I need you to install one more dependency that is called nodemon, and you can write npm install -g nodemon and append sudo when you are using Macintosh or Linux, but in my case I am already using nodemon, so I'm simply write nodemon -- version, and it will give me the nodemon version which I'm using. So now to spin up the server I'll simply write nodemon, and it will constantly watch our application, and in case of any changes it will automatically restart the server for us. So now if I go and just see, we are able to see this hello world text over here. And since this is a backend API, so we are not going to do this, and I'm gonna simply just comment this line of stuff, and I'm gonna quickly create this route, go to this users file. So what do we need to do over here? But before going to this route I want to create a model, and model is something that deals with the database. So I'm going to simply say user. In my models directory, I'm going to create a file that is called user with capital U, and that will be a model. So what are the basic things which we are going to use in our whatever the attributes we want about a user, we can specify over here, and which will automatically create and validate our data according to that model. So we are simply gonna require mongoose const mongoose, and we are bringing mongoose again. So did I spell it wrong? No, it's fine. Then I'm gonna create a schema object which is mongoose dot schema. Then create the user model or schema. So for that we can simply write const user schema equal to new schema, and it will take a couple of things. So let's say we want name of the user, which will be of type string and with S capital. Required will be true. Then we want username, type will be again a string. So I can simply copy this stuff out and just paste it over here. Then email, we want password in order to secure login, and we want a date field, and that will be of type date, and by default default it will be date.now. So we have successfully created our user schema, and now we want to export this object. So we'll simply write module.exports equal to user equal to mongoose.model, and it will take two parameters. So first one is users table. This is the name of collection which we are going to use, or collection or document which we will be using, which references to this user schema. So once that is done, and we are all set to go for the users route. So the next file which we have created is the users API file, and in order to use this thing we want to create a couple of routes over here in order to use them. So let's go and quickly create that thing for us. So first thing which we need to bring in over here obviously is express router, so that we can use that thing. So we are gonna use const express, that is require express. Then we want to, since this is a sub route, so we are bringing router, and that is nothing but express.router. And now we have defined this router over here. So now next one is we want to bring in a couple of other things also. So for now bcrypt in order to hash our passwords, bcrypt.js. Then we also need JWT, which will require later in order to hash our password. And for now, one more thing, that is passport that will be required in order to protect our routes. passport. That's fine for now. And before doing anything, I almost forget all the times, so quickly export that router. Now I'm gonna quickly write some description. So first one is @route, that will be get, not get, that will be post, because we are just simply sending some data to here, and which will be API users / register. The second one is the description, DSC, register the user, and third one is access type, so that will be public. So first route, that is router.post, and that is register, which will take request, response, and now here we are going to get a couple of things. So first of all, I'm gonna do a couple of something called object destructuring. So request.body, and whatever the things we want to bring in from here. So first one will be the name, second field will be the username, then email, password, then we also need something called confirm password. So we are just taking out from the request body object, we are taking out these variables so that we can use this. And let me quickly check in the model if we have something else which we haven't mentioned. And 1 2 3 4, and that's fine. Yeah, so first condition, that will be if request password not equal to confirm password. So we'll simply return a request, return response with the status of 400, that is. And the better way to do this is firstly with the message, password do not match. So we are simply sending this response. Now in else case, what we are going to do, nothing else. So we have defined this user over here, but we haven't used this, so we need to bring in user, and I'll tell you why we are bringing this. Require, which is to up, and in the models directory, that is user. So we have brought in this user object. Now we are going to check for the unique email, and that's how we are gonna do. So for now, we'll find some user, find, and we'll pass this find1, we'll pass this username with this username, which we have already got in here, and this will return a user collection, user data, and if user is there, then we'll simply return this response back with the message of username is already taken. Then not for the unique email, that will be username, check for the unique email. So we are simply find one. We are passing a query over here, that is email. If matches to this email, then we are getting some user. If user is found again, we'll simply send this data back. Email is already registered. Did you forget your password? Now next thing, then if nothing goes wrong, if everything is fine till here, then next thing is that means the data is valid, and now we can register the user. So now how we are gonna do that? If you remember in my last videos, it's very simple. We can simply say let new user equal to new user, and this name, username, password, email, and that's all, I guess. Yeah, for now that's all. We are just simply passing all the stuff to here, and now we are going to hash our password. And for hashing a password, we have brought in this generate bcrypt, so we can hash our password using this bcrypt over here. So for that, bcrypt dot hash, not hash, gensalt first, and it will take 10. First one is 10, and in case of error or hash, not error, this will take this salt. Then everything goes fine. bcrypt dot hash, now we are hashing the password, new user dot password, and with the salt parameter in there, and if hash is successful, it will return error, either error or hash. If error, throw error, else new user dot password will be hash. Whatever is hashed, we are assigning it to the new user. New user dot save, and once it is saved, then it will give a callback. We can catch it to then, and that is a user object. It will return back the user object from there. Return res.json, and with a status of 201 with a created resource, and in here I'm gonna say success equal to true. Message I'm using register. Okay, that's fine for now. And trailing semicolons, and that's all. So we have created this route so far, but we haven't implemented this route over here. So now bring in the users route, and for that we can do a const users equal to require, and we are going to route directory API/users. So next one is app.use for API/users and now if I save, everything should go fine. So let me quickly test this out. So for testing purpose, I am using Postman, which I have installed, and it's a really nice tool. You can find it on from Postman website, and documentation is very amazing and its performance is also very amazing. It will take a little bit of time to load, and here it is. So now, okay, so since it is a post request and port is running on 5000, localhost 5000, API users/register, and in a body we are going to use raw data, that is plain application, username is Mandy1, and password is equal to 12345678990, and let me quickly make some error in order to before registering our data. And since here's a Mongo shell running over here, show DB, we have these many databases over here, but currently the database which I was going to use was Maven Auth, and which is not over here at all. So let's go and quickly create that database, and unlike MySQL, we don't have to create all the tables manually. MongoDB will do it for us, so we just have to use that thing. So let's say email, here's my email, marianarain09@gmail.com, and we have one more thing, that was name, Narain Maria, and I know I have accepted this also, confirm password, which I'm not sending, and that definitely gonna give me errors, so that is good for us in order for testing purpose. And if I make this request, we are getting password do not match. So let me quickly create confirm password, confirm password, and that is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Let's say we are again sending wrong, and that is some error in there, and my terminal should also crash. Yeah, everything is fine. Now if I send, password still do not match and user is not registered. So now if I send, it should create our database. So now if I write show DBs, here we have Maven Auth, our database is created. So use that Maven auth and show collections, and it has users collection in there. So in order to show we all the documents in that users collection, you have to simply write users.find.pretty in order to make it nicely presentable, and here whatever we have sent we have created over here. So that's basically it about the login register route. Now in the next thing is we are simply gonna create our login route, and I'm gonna copy this header which will be post API login, and it is also accessible to the public. So here comes the couple of fishy things. So router dot, and since it is a post request, login, and that will be request response, and here we want to do something user dot find. Firstly, we are finding that user by the username, and request.body.user name, because we are simply accepting that username from the login request. And if there is user, it will give a callback. If not user, then return res.json with a status of 404 not found. Message username is not found. Success will be true, not true, it will be false, and this will be a kind of good thing. But if there is user, so we are now going to compare the password. So in order to compare the password, we have to bring in again the bcrypt.js, which we have already brought in, and we just need to use. So bcrypt.compare, and it will take the password which we have brought and the body of the request, and it will take user, which we are getting from here, user password, and now it will give a callback. Then is match if is match is true, that means users password is correct, and we need to send the JSON token for that user, else we will simply return this response. Incorrect password. So how we are gonna sign that token? So I'm quickly gonna create a variable that is called payload, and that payload is an object, and in which it will have a ID, which will be user._id, then name, user.name, and this user is whatever the user we found it over here. Then email, user.email, and the most prior thing, that is username, user.username. And with all that, we have initialized this payload data which we are going to attach in our token. So next thing is how to sign that token. So remember, we have already brought in that JWT package, and we are now going to use that package in order to sign the token for the user. So for that, there's a sign method in that, and which takes couple of. So first one is payload, then it also takes the key, and we haven't brought the key over here. So for that, we need to bring in the key. And if you remember, in our configuration, we have the secret, that is the key. So I'm gonna quickly bring in that const key equal to require, and that is 1 up, 2 up, and in our configuration folder in keys, and we wanna get this. And is there something wrong? Right? Yeah, it's keys. Okay, that secret. Yeah, we are bringing that secret as a key. So now we are just passing that key over here in order to that is like some unique standard of that JWT. It can be a long text or a small text, whatever you feel like according to your application. And next argument takes is expires in, which is for a week, is 604800, and that's all. And once this token is assigned, it will give a callback or the token. If in case of any error, press the status, that is 200, the JSON, and we are sending success equal to true, then token equal to token. And this is not only the token, I'm gonna quickly wrap it in the bearer, and I'm gonna assign bearer with a space. So this is a standard, and with a message variable in there, with the message, hooray, you are now logged in, and that's all. So let me go and quickly test this route. So I go back to this postman, and yeah, that's fine, it will work. So I'm just quickly gonna change this line to this login and send this, and here we have our bearer token. So now if I copy this token and go to this website, that is jwt.io, and if I paste that token over here, here we have all the data in there as a payload, and we can use that data in our front end to specify the unique user, and we can also get to know which user has logged in. So last but not least, we are simply gonna create one more route, that is protected route. So router dot get, and this is profile, and let's quickly change the headers, profile, return the user's data, and this is private route. Now we can attach a middleware in order to protect this route, that is passport middleware. Authenticate, it takes JWT method as well as session equals to false, and we'll take request, response, and now I think it's gonna crash. That's because we haven't used this passport yet in our application. And let me quickly fix that out. So to use the passport middleware, what we can do, use the passport middleware. I quickly make some spaces, make some room for app to breathe, and we can say app.use passport dot initialize, and we broke our application over here. And how in the world, why is this application broke? So the reason behind is we have initialized the passport, but we are not able to, we haven't proper configuration of that passport in order to work in our application. So to do that, we have to simply go to this config folder, and I'm gonna create one more folder file in there, that is passport.js, and I am gonna create a couple of methods in order to use that passport strategy. So I'm gonna bring in JWT strategy equal to require passport JWT dot strategy. So we are bringing first function, then we need to extract JWT equal to require. I know most of you guys would be knowing this stuff, but this is for those. Extract JWT for those who want to, and we are simply bringing const mongoose, and I think we don't need mongoose over here. We are simply gonna use const user, which is user schema, which we have already defined in models and users. Next one is const key, in order to get those tokens matched with our key, which we have assigned dot secret, and that's basically it. So first one is we are gonna create const options, which is nothing but an empty object, then ops dot JWT from request, which will be equal to extract JWT from auth bearer token function. So this method is simply going to extract all the token from the header as a bearer, because remember we have sent this token from here with the bearer in our suffix, and this is going to extract that token and decode it now. Then ops dot key dot secret or key equal to key. So we are preparing that token and ready to be module dot exports, which will be taking in a passport, and I'm using arrow functions. So passport dot use new JWT strategy, which will take out this ops object, and JWT payload, and it will take another argument that is done, which will simply tell when we are done. We'll do this, and now we are simply finding that user. So find by ID, and how now we are gonna get this ID. So whatever is in JWT payload is the token. So JWT payload dot underscore ID, and then it will give a callback with a user object. If the user is there, then return done, the null, because there's no error. Else return done with null and false. That means we were not able to match the user. And in case of any error, we are simply consoling log that error out. And so far we have done everything, but we haven't implemented this strategy. So how in the world are we gonna implement the strategy? So just after the initializing this passport, we'll simply bring in the strategy. Use not use require. We are simply requiring because we are getting a global, and since this passport will be sent over here, and now if I save, everything should work fine, but it isn't. And passport is not defined. Let me see. Passport or initialize. Okay, we haven't brought in the passport. Const passport to require passport, and now if I save, everything should work fine, and yes, it is. So now if I go to this next, I create simply a next route. This should be a get local host 5000 API/users profile, and in the header section I'm gonna write authorization, and whatever the token which we have got over here, simply gonna copy this out and paste it. And now if I send, and it's still sending, somewhere it's crashing. Why it's not getting this request? API/users profile session is false, passport.authenticate. Did I put the route correct or not? So let me quickly cancel this request once more. Why isn't it working though? API/localhost 5000. Okay. Everything was fine. Return. We haven't done anything either. Return res.json. That's why it was stuck. I thought this step was done. Request.user. So simply this is appending our user object over there, and better way to do that is user request.user, and that's fine. Now if I send, it will say give me back the user from the database. So that's basically it about this video, and now in the next video we'll start working with our front end in our view.js. So thank you guys. Alright, we'll see you in the next video.